Welcome to the Biz Doctor Podcast, my love letter to business owners the world over. I'm your host, Lauren Goldstein, award-winning business consultant and advisor fondly nicknamed the Biz Doctor by my clients. I help business owners who are burning the candle at both ends diagnose what is actually keeping them buried in the day-to-day busy work, and then formulate a treatment plan to adjust their business and team to fit them, so they can take a breath and a vacation and have more fun making a bigger impact than ever. So grab your favorite beverage and your earbuds, and let's dive into our latest episode. Have you ever invested so much time, money, and energy into a new employee only for them to quit after a short amount of time, leaving you bewildered as to why? Or maybe you hired somebody who you thought was a perfect fit only to discover things during onboarding that made it clear that they were not a fit, and you had to let them go within their first few days, weeks, or even their first month. It's basically the worst, isn't it? In fact, I had 2 people in 2 days send me emails about quote unquote burning through employees or having to let someone go after 3 days. Sheesh. While I've yet to dig in deeper into why with those 2 people, my gut tells me it's a few simple tweaks that would have made all the difference. And I'll be the first to admit that hitting the bullseye with new hires can be a challenge. That is, if you don't know how to ready, aim, fire, which is why I know today's episode is going to be so valuable for you. Welcome back to the Biz Doctor Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Goldstein, and today I'm going to share with you the 3 things that will make all the difference with not only onboarding success, but helping ensure your new employee sticks. We're going to talk about why employees don't stay, keys to onboarding success, and lastly, a few of my favorite check-in questions for those first 90 days to make sure you stick around to the end. All right, let's talk about the big reasons employees don't stay. Now let's talk about players. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know I talk a lot about the difference between a player and a worker bee. So let's dive into how to keep the players on your team happy. First, autonomy. As you've heard me say time and time again, players come with a plan. That's why they are so valuable and give you back your time. They know the end goal and are going to use their expertise, the very thing you hired them for, to get you there in the most successful and efficient ways that are a win-win for everyone. This also means that if you are trying to control things or micromanage them more than they need, now everybody needs direction and leadership, so I'm not saying set them free to run wild, but they're not going to stick around for long if you're overbearing, over-controlling, or micromanaging them. Second, acknowledgement and appreciation. Now, this one should go really without saying because we're all human, but here goes. Everyone needs to feel valued and like they are part of something bigger. It's easy to focus on the gaps and improvement areas, which as a recovering perfectionist, I get. But if you want someone to stick around, make sure they know how much you value and appreciate them and acknowledge them often when they do great work. If you don't, then resentment can breed like bunnies in love, and pretty soon that player you counted on so much has said sayonara. Third, trim the fat. I hate to say this, but when you are growing your business and then when you get to the scaling stage and you have a high-performing team, players won't tolerate people who don't pull their weight or any sort of mediocrity. And frankly, neither should you. If you are tolerating people dialing it in or mediocrity in the team for whatever reason, and sometimes I see this masquerading a lot as business owners saying they are being loyal to people who built the business. Guys, it's time for a hard look in the mirror if you've said this. Listen, I get it. They got you where you are, and we appreciate their contribution along the way. But sometimes they are just not the best fit for the next iteration of your business. I've seen it more times than not that they just might be the anchor that's prohibiting you from getting and staying at the next level. Here's a great example I'll give you 2 client examples actually. So the first, one of my clients had someone in the accounting department that had been with them since the very beginning. Now, throughout time, this person became more and more resistant to the changes that were happening to enable the company to grow and eventually scale. But the business owner kind of drug his feet because he felt bad because she had contributed a lot, helped a lot in the beginning. She also, though, was starting to cause a lot of issues. So finally, he made the tough decision to let her go and brought me in And then, of course, we helped him find that replacement. Now, something really interesting happened with the replacement. Not only did team morale go up, so suddenly the team actually started working better together. This person no longer had to do all the chasing and grunt work that the other person did just because people didn't want to work with them. But also the customers of this client started to notice too. Bills started getting paid more on time. They were easier to get a hold of. A lot of positive things happen. So if you're resisting getting rid of someone, I feel you. I know it's hard to see someone who's been there since the beginning go on a different direction, but I can almost promise you with 99.9% certainty that when you hire someone who is equipped for that next level, who is 100% in, it will have way more benefit than cost. Now, the second example I want to give you is a case of two partners. So this is a really tricky one because I've seen this actually happen a couple of times, one more recently, but I'll just give you this example. The two partners, they thought they were both aligned, ended up not being aligned. One was very ready to risk and grow and set the business up for scalability and sustainability. The other was much more comfortable where they were. So sure, she wanted the business to grow and scale, but she wasn't willing to get uncomfortable. What's very interesting is while one is okay with the status quo and the other wants to scale and diversify, the majority owner who wanted to scale thought the minority owner who was very risk averse was on board because she was giving her lip service and saying that she agreed with her. But it was a completely different story behind the scenes and in the team. And this unfortunately was uncovered in the diagnostic. But this gives you a really great insight into this particular team was having a lot of trouble keeping players around. And it was because they were getting micromanaged and controlled by somebody that was very risk averse and didn't actually want to move forward. So when you are trimming the fat, and I know I hate to say that because it sounds bad, but when you're trimming the fat and getting ready to step into the next level, it actually is going to help you in a multitude of ways to get very clear about who is a fit for the next level and who isn't. And then taking the personal side out of it and really thinking about it from a business perspective. Of course, be kind, considerate, graceful with whoever's leaving, and know that you are really, truly not only doing what's best for the business, but you're doing what's best for them because nobody wants to stick around when it's tough or they feel like they don't fit. Like you're just doing them a disservice. So it's better to be someone who is willing to have the uncomfortable conversations and let someone go so that they can find a role in a company that they really, truly are a great fit for and feel fulfilled by. Now, the other big reason people don't stick around is all about clarity, or rather the lack of it. And this is also the reason I created our most downloaded resource, the scorecard, and why it is the first of my 7 C's to a high-performing team. So clarity. If you're not clear on their role, how they fit in, their expectations, their path to success and growth, then, my friend, you have a recipe for mismatched expectations and frustration, not to mention leaking profitability and chances are resentment. Don't make the mistake of reactively hiring. I promise that if you are proactively hiring, it will make all the difference across the board. And that's why clarity is key, because clarity will enable you to have the ability to proactively hire, proactively get the most out of your team, and not be stuck in this hire fire cycle that sometimes people get stuck in. Before we dive into the next bit, I want to take a second to share with you something that I've seen drastically change businesses and teams for the better. Imagine waking up every morning with a team that knows exactly what is expected of them and how to achieve success without you having to micromanage them. Imagine how much time and dollars you will save by hiring the right team member from the start. Not to mention getting the most out of every current member of your team. That is what's possible with our tried and tested tool, the Golden Key Scorecard. The scorecard is a simple, impactful, and fillable tool for managing your team, ditching inefficiency, and I guarantee will help you stop playing whack-a-mole chasing team docs all over the place. It's as easy as filling out a form. If you want to get out from under your business, shifting from business operator to business owner, and take your business to the next level while reclaiming your time, then our Golden Key Scorecard is just the ticket. Our scorecard provides the time-tested framework and process to get you and your team out of the weeds and into a well-oiled machine that can scale without you. It's time for you to run your business instead of the other way around. Become an expert in this critical piece of the foundation to creating a high-performing team. Download the Golden Key Scorecard for free at goldenkeypartnership.com/go. Now back to the show. So now that I've introduced you to the scorecard, the key to unlocking clarity in your team, as I've discussed, the other thing I see causing employees to run for the exits is an onboarding process that rivals those corn mazes as Halloween. You think it might be fun and you're excited, nervous but excited. However, in reality, you have no idea where you're going and there are surprises around every dang corner. Personally, I hate these mazes, but it makes a good analogy. Don't be like that. Don't throw your employees into a maze and hope that they can fumble their way out. It's kind of like some employees just throw them in the deep end and hope they can swim. Not effective, not a win-win, and it is more trouble than it's worth. So have a plan, a simple, effective onboarding plan. Now let's talk about that plan and about the onboarding process. This, of course, could be its own episode all in of itself, so I'm just going to give you the skeleton of what I've seen make some of the biggest differences to shift from a so-so onboarding experience to one that breeds success. Here it goes. It's a trifecta. You get to onboard them not only on the nitty-gritty of their role, but you also get to onboard them onto the culture and the team, and last but not least, onboard them into their life. That last one, it's the kicker. So let me explain. The first one, pretty self-explanatory. They have to get up to speed on what success in their role is and how to achieve it. Personally, I take a page out of my time in the medical field and follow the see one, do one, teach one approach. So I know they got it. So essentially, they see someone do it, whoever's training them, then they do it, and that person watches them, gives them feedback, helps them master it. And then once they've mastered it, then they teach someone else so that we can make sure that it is truly ingrained and they fully grasp it. The second part is you want to onboard them into the team and help them feel like they're part of the company, not on an island. This is especially important for anyone who's remote. The way I help with this is a buddy system. It's a bit like if you ever went to a new school and they pair you with a fellow student who helped you feel less alone and show you the ropes on your first day. The premise is the same here. Pair them up with somebody over the next 90 days in their organization that is complementary to them. Now, some of my clients like to kick the traces on this one, but I like to pair people who are complementary and different so they can help with each other's blind spots. And I've seen in many cases where the buddy system helps and supports the veteran as much as the rookie. This person should not be their manager or in any sort of hierarchy with them because you want to give them a safe and trusted confidant to ask questions, share, learn from, and make them feel like they're part of the family. Now the last one, which is probably the one that I'm sure made you all go, what on earth is she talking about? Now this one is the one I see most business owners and leaders miss. This is where you onboard them into how the business is going to help them create the life that they want and achieve their goals. So often we focus on how this new team member is going to help the business that we forget that the human behind the success has goals and dreams too. This is why one of the big areas on the scorecard is their quote-unquote path towards success. I want to know where they want to be in a year professionally and personally. If they want to buy a house, how can I support? If they want to start a family, how can we make sure that we set everyone up for a win-win so they don't have to worry? Maybe they want more training on a degree. Phenomenal. I want to know it all so I can make sure they know I'm on their side and want them to win just as much as I want the company to win as a whole. Does that make sense? Do you see how someone who feels like you have their back and are vested in them will be much more likely to stick? Also, as a slight sidebar, another reason why this is really important, I'll give you 2 examples that I recently just had happen actually. So during one of my diagnostic one-on-ones for one of my clients with her team, I asked, what does the next year, 2 years look like for you in this role? And she point blankly said, well, I'm going to retire in 2 years. When I hit 65, I'm done. And so to me, that's very good to know now, because had we not known that, we would have been stuck in a lurch and not been able to properly transition and train someone new. Another example of this is when I just onboarded a team member when I was fractional COO for a client. One of the questions that, of course, we ask when we're doing the scorecard is, where do you want to be in a year? Like, what are your big personal goals? And she said, well, I think I might want to start a family in the next year, which is great. We're 100% on board for that. And that also tells me a couple of things. One, there's going to be some time out. There's a possibility she might not come back. There's also the possibility that we're going to need someone to pick up the slack it's not a possibility. It's a known fact. When she's out of the office, we need somebody to pick up the slack. So when I know this, I don't know when she's going to have a baby, but I've got a 9-month runway. What this question really enables you to do is not only show them that you support them, but you also have the ability to be forewarned and therefore forearmed to make sure that your business is able to handle whatever transitions come up. And yes, some employees exit very quickly and unexpectedly, but that's not normally the norm. So if you're aware of where they want to be in a year and you can support them, not only will they stay, but you'll also have a leg up in making sure that you are prepared for any sort of transitions that might be coming down the pipe that they want. Now, as promised, I'm going to leave you with a few of my favorite check-in questions for those first 90 days. In general, I ask these same questions at the 30, 60, and 90-day mark. Now, I'm going to say the caveat that these are not the only questions I ask. These are simply the ones I ask with my neuroscience hat on that help me keep a pulse on where they're at so I can nip anything in the bud or adjust accordingly. So here they are. First, do you have any frustrations around your role? Are you finding yourself getting stuck anywhere? I love this question because it's an open-ended question and it gives me a lot of information about anything that we might have missed that is causing, whether it's so on the scorecard, we have a whole column that's for threats and interdependencies. And sometimes we nail those and sometimes we don't. And so if there's some frustrations that are coming up in the role and it happens to be an interdependency or a threat that we didn't see, this question allows us to adjust accordingly. Then we asked, do you feel connected to the company mission and vision? Do you feel connected to the company culture? Do you feel connected to the team as a whole? So these three, I'm asking these because I want to see, how are they settling in? Are they still feeling aligned? Do they feel like this doesn't happen, but I've seen this happen in clients' companies. Are they feeling like it's a bait and switch and what they thought the culture was, it isn't, vice versa? You just want to know where their head's at and how they're feeling connected. Because again, the more connected they feel, the longer they're going to stay. And then I ask, what aspects of your day do you like the most? This is one of my favorite questions because I get to see really where they think their superpowers are and also where they're focusing their time to make sure that where I think they should be focusing time is also where they are focusing time. Then I ask, what do they like the least? And I know this sounds like the first one, and it's meant to, because sometimes they need time to warm up or think of things. And when I ask it in a different way than where are you getting stuck, then they're more likely to actually tell me where they're getting stuck or where we've missed the mark. And then these next few are all on a scale of 1 to 10. And if they have a particularly low or high number, I always ask why. So I ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, tell me how fulfilled you are, how satisfied you are, how successful you feel, how valued you feel, how appreciated you feel. Now, value and appreciated, I'm sure you're going, aren't those the same thing? They are, but they're different. Again, it's kind of like I asked, what are your frustrations and what do you like least? They're different sides to the same coin. So value would imply that they have worth. They are feeling like they are contributing and they have a worth to the company, versus appreciation implies that we recognize their worth. And then do they feel connected to the role? Do they feel connected to the team? Do they feel fairly compensated? Again, all of these are on a 1 to 10 scale. And on 1 to 10 scale, how happy are you? Both in life and work. And I know you guys are probably like, why do we care about their life? I mean, maybe you're not thinking that. But hopefully you can sense a trend that the parallels between someone's life and their work are so interconnected. If something is going on in their life, you're gonna see it in their job. And if something is going on in their job, you're gonna see it in their life. So the more transparency and open communication and honesty you have about where those intersect, the happier they're gonna be, the more sticky they're gonna be because they trust you. But you're also going to be able to mitigate any sort of interruptions that might be caused from work to life or life to work. All in all, why I love these questions is it gets down to the human factor and allows me to see where they might need more support or where they're really excelling. So if I can shift things to put them even more in their happy zone of genius, I will. Because it's equal parts, how can I help set them up for more success and happiness by culling out the things that maybe are causing friction or sticking points or things like that. But it's also about making sure that when we communicate, I know where they're at. Because if all of a sudden they're having a lot of scope creep and I need to hire somebody else, I need to know that. We want them to be happy. We want them to be there in zone of genius. And I also want to make sure that there aren't other factors that are contributing to something that might make them leave. So remember this, as human beings, we really just want to be heard and know we are valued and appreciated. As I said a few minutes ago, I see a lot of business owners throw someone in the deep end and hope they can swim. But when you think about onboarding this way and you dig deeper by asking these questions, your team, culture, and business will thrive. And momentum breeds momentum, which is something I know we all want. Plus, you'll find your hires pay much bigger dividends and stick around much longer. So it gets you off the dreaded hire, fire, merry-go-round, which I think is a win-win-win. All right, that is it for this week's episode. I hope you got some golden nuggets to take back into your business. Thanks so much for listening. If anything I shared sparked something in you, we'd love for you to share this episode with your friends and fellow business owners. And of course, give the show a 5-star rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe so you're the first to get notified when our next episode is live and ready for your ears. And I'd also love to hear from you. So let's connect. Tag me or DM me on Instagram at It's Lauren Goldstein or LinkedIn or wherever you hang out on the interwebs. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time. Thank you for listening to the Biz Doctor Podcast. Now, I like to say that friends don't let friends WebMD your business. So if you're wondering what your next steps could be, here are some options for you. No matter what, head to the show notes or to my website, goldenkeypartnership.com, for some impactful resources to support you getting out from under your business. That's also where you'll find the links to learn more about our services and how we support business owners, just like you, who are ready to make the successful jump from business operator in the trenches to visionary business owner with more freedom and flexibility. All of that info is on our website, so pop on over to learn more or get in touch. goldenkeypartnership.com. Finally, if you love the Biz Doctor Podcast, I'd be so grateful if you would share it with your friends and network and give us a 5-star rating or review wherever you listen to your podcast.
This is Story Studio Network.